The Blast from Our Past Network.
Lock your doors, close your windows, turn out your lights, for chills and thrills await you. It's time for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Stay with a friend, say your prayers as grisly ghouls close in to seal your doom, and enjoy this bonus episode of Podcasting After Dark.
Hey everybody, welcome to a bonus episode of Podcasting After Dark. Co-host Corey here, flying solo. I am reviewing a video game called Terminator Resistance. It originally came out in 2019 for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox and the PC. And it was just recently enhanced for the PS5, I'm sure Xbox One or whatever, but basically they beefed up the graphics and everything, and they put out a newer version of it, but it's still kind of, it's still the same game. I just beat it, and I was really excited to talk to you guys about it because it all takes place in the future war scenes that you see in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. And I imagine if you grew up like me in the 80s and the 90s, you watched the hell out of Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. You freaking wanted to see more of those future battles. The stuff that Kyle Reese was doing and everything. And, there's a few more scenes in Terminator 1 than there is in Terminator 2. We get that one big scene in Terminator 2, which is really cool. But even as a kid, I was like, oh man, I wanted more. It's kind of one of the reasons I actually kind of like Terminator 1 better than Terminator 2 is because you get more future stuff. But yeah, if you were like me and you wanted to see more of that future stuff as a kid, this game is absolutely for you. It 100% takes place during those future battles. The main game itself, you follow a character named Jacob Rivers. He fights for the Resistance and everything like that. But with what you're doing in the game, you're actually seeing stuff that happens in the movies, but sort of from different perspectives and everything. And then I'll get into all of that, but really quick, I kind of wanted to give you maybe a little bit of a background really quick on this game itself and so you're on the same page is what I'm talking about. So Terminator Resistance is a 2019 first-person shooter developed by Teyon. Teyon is the dev team that made that RoboCop Rogue City game that I reviewed 2 years ago back in August of 2024. So if you listen to that review, you'll know there's similar play styles to this. You'll pick up on some similarities and everything. And if you've played that game, you'll get it. But so this game was developed by Teyon. They actually developed this first, and then they did the RoboCop game afterwards. But it's the game is based on the Terminator franchise set during the original future war depicted in the films Terminator and Terminator 2. Now, the cool thing is, yes, it all takes place in that sort of era. No, it does not bring in anything from Dark Fate, from Salvation, from Terminator 3, or anything like that, except for the Terminator types. You get more variety in your enemy types with your Terminators and your different sort of versions of the Terminators, but everything else aesthetically comes exclusively from what you see in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. So the game basically has you start each mission in a resistance bunker. You can walk around it. You can talk to different people. They kind of give you side quests to do when you start actually playing the game itself and go out into the world. But it's like totally immersive. You're always in the first person viewpoint. And you walk around, you talk to the different characters, you buy, you sell things, you buy, more weapons, more, ammo, things like that. You get your missions. Characters are fleshed out. You have scientists working down there. You have a Commander Baron, and she's like a real hard ass and everything. But the resistance bunker that you're in looks totally like what you see Kyle Reese in Terminator 1, when that one Terminator kind of, busts in and kills everybody. Sans that, of course, but that's the aesthetic. That's what you see. Then the game itself, like the gameplay, you go out into the world to do a mission, whatever your mission or multiple missions are. You go out into like this open world area, and it's, as you imagine, it's bleak as hell. It's all just post-apocalyptic, skulls on the ground. I can't stress this enough. The aesthetic is everything you see in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 and how they depict the future. Other Resistance, fighters, like other members of the Resistance team that you're with, they look exactly like what, Kyle Reese is wearing in Terminator 1. They look like what the Resistance fighters are wearing in Terminator 2 and everything. And when you go out into the world, you can start collecting weapons. You can pick up weapons from fallen Terminators. You have access to the laser guns that you see the Resistance fighters have. You can build up your ability to like unlock new traits, for yourself to actually use the laser gun that you see the Terminator use in Terminator 2. You can even get that like Gatling gun, heavy laser machine gun that you see that one Terminator use in the scene where Kyle Reese, is kind of taking a nap. It's crazy. It's really cool. The sound effects sound exactly like what you would expect. It's movie accurate and everything. But the key thing is that fighting Terminators is fucking scary. It's fucking terrifying. I mean, they're patrolling, they're walking around, as the T-800, this endoskeleton and everything. Timeline wise, story wise, like the infiltrator units are just starting to pop up. So kind of like no one believes that they exist because all they've ever seen is the T-800 walking around, the endoskeleton walking around. But the thing they do well is they also bring in other types from the other movies. So you'll see like the T-600 with the rubbery skin and it's kind of bigger. I think you saw that in Terminator Salvation. But no other aspect of Terminator Salvation comes into play. They only have you fighting different enemy types as a variety because it would get kind of old to just fight T-800s after a while. There are like these like crab things that are on the ground that'll try to kill you, that'll kind of pop out of the ground. There are little like sort of like small walkers. There are little flying aerial drones that are kind of like the size of a basketball or something, and they have guns on them and stuff like that. But there are like aerial hunter killers flying around in the air. They look exactly like the kind you see in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. You do have to eventually work your way up to fighting a hunter killer tank that you see Kyle Reese fighting in Terminator 1. When like him and that chick like throw grenades and try to blow it up and she gets shot before the grenades goes off and everything like that. You fight those and they're hard as hell to kill. You can kind of sneak around. You can sort of go balls out and kind of like, take things on one, but it's a little bit easier if you sneak. You can hack Skynet turrets and then they will shoot at, the Terminators or other enemies in that area. So you can hack them and they'll sort of shoot back and everything. It's so much fun. The shooting mechanics are great. It's very satisfying to destroy a Terminator. You can get sniper rifles, like laser-powered sniper rifles. You can, shoot Terminators in the head and drop them. You can kind of like shoot them. They'll sort of fall down and sort of recalibrate and get back up, and you can kind of run up to it and shoot it on the ground. They all explode. You can take damage if you're too close to it and everything. But it truly does feel like you've always, if you're like me, it feels exactly like what you've always wanted to see, what you've always wanted to play. Story-wise, it almost plays out like a Terminator 3. This could be the third Terminator movie. It ties in so well to Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. I want to tell you some cool shit, but it's kind of spoilery and everything. But the game's been out for a while, so it's kind of like what's going to sell you on it. So in the later half of the main story, like you literally play up to the point of meeting John Connor, and you play out that opening scene where you're following behind him as he's walking out and looking out over the battlefield. Like, you play that. You go out into the battlefield that you see at the beginning of Terminator 2. It's really fucking cool. It's wish fulfillment for someone like me who's like always wanted to see more of, that era that you just sort of get a glimpse at in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Character-wise, the characters are cool. Let me say this, guys. Like with the RoboCop Rogue City, it is not a AAA title. It's a AA title. Like, it's solid, it's good, it does things well, but it is not a AAA video game title. It's serviceable, it's fantastic, but you're not going to get a lot of some really cinematic facial expressions and stuff. It's just, plus it was also made for last gen and everything. It's still fun. And it kind of like stresses the fact that like graphics aren't everything, with a video game. Like it's the story is solid. The graphics are solid. The gameplay is great. And I think that's what sort of, pushes you along. But you can tell the people who made this, the dev team, are, fans of the franchise, if not mostly Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Early on in the in the story mode, like really early in the story mode, you go to this hospital where Terminators are basically kind of experimenting on people, and you find a resistance fighter who's dead, and he's kind of cut open and everything, but he looks like Robert Patrick. Like, he 100% looks like Robert Patrick, and it's obviously where the T-1000 got like its look from. Like, okay, yes, like because remember when the T-1000 and T2, like the first cop it kills does not look like Robert Patrick. So like, where did it get that look? Well, it got it from a resistance fighter. Also too, there are 2 sex scenes in this game. They're both in first person. There's no nudity, but they're pretty lengthy sex scenes that you get involved with 2 different characters. I was like, awesome. Was not expecting that. That is 2 more sex scenes than I was ever expecting to be in this game. But yeah, the main story is fun. It kept me engaged throughout the entire game. Like I said, you're kind of playing sort of parallel to events that are happening in the movies. You know who John Connor is, but you're not working for him right away. You're working for this Commander Baron. She's pretty hot, by the way. She's kind of badass. And, but you know who he is, and he's out there and you understand, but also, and he's the leader of the resistance, but it's not as grandiose as you sort of expect it to be. Like, oh, he's not revered in sort of that way, but he is still the leader of the resistance. And like I said, you do sync up with him towards the end of the game, and you basically play out that whole entire opening scene of T2, which is awesome. And, not every mission is a night mission. Sometimes you're out there during the day and everything, which is pretty cool to see different aspects of the post-apocalyptic world. And the characters you talk to, you get some backstory on how they came to be and how they came to be where they are and what their experience with Judgment Day was and all this and that. And it's really cool. Once you beat the game, there are 2 alternate modes. There's like sort of 2 DLCs. There's one that's an infiltration mode where you play as a Terminator, and you basically get this one open map that you can basically walk around. There's resistance fighters there. There's other things that you can kill. But basically, every time you kill somebody, they have you try to collect data on your target, and then you kill enough people, search their bodies, get information. You will unlock the location of your target, where they are, and then you can go and kill them. I played through that twice. It was a lot of fun. And it's like, the screen is red. It looks like Terminator vision, and you're just walking, and every step is like thump, thump, thump. It's the sound design for this game is actually really, really fucking cool. The sound design and the visual design of everything and character designs are fantastic. The graphics aren't always the best, but again, it's a AA title. It's solid graphically. What it does well is the shooting and killing Terminators. It always feels satisfying to blow up a Terminator because they just, the weight of the gun feels satisfying. The hits feel satisfying, and that's important. Another DLC is called the Annihilation Line, where basically you have to go into Terminator Skynet occupied territory, but you do it with Kyle Reese. So this DLC takes place midway through the game. So they tell you where you should play it. Like, so you don't really start with it, but you also don't have to wait till the end of the game to play it. But they will give you a warning, like you should have played this chapter at least before playing this. So there's no spoilers in the story. But you play with this reconnaissance team with Kyle Reese. You go into the Annihilation line looking for people, survivors. You're trying to extract them and everything. You have a four-person team, you included in that. You have Kyle Reese, another dude, and a female named Pharaoh. Huge spoilers for this DLC, but I gotta tell you, huge spoilers for this DLC. By the end of this little story, this little section of the game, you see play out Kyle Reese taking on that HK tank with Pharaoh, her getting shot, and you realize that you were playing the whole DLC with that character that you see from the movie. And then the other guy uses the car, like that hatchback with a machine gun in the back, goes and gets Kyle Reese. Kyle Reese gets in the driver's seat. He's in the back shooting. He shoots, they get destroyed by the flying HK, and the car flips over, and Kyle is like burning in the car. And you realize you, again, just witnessed that scene from the movie. And it's actually you that's there that pulls Kyle Reese out of the fire. It's like, oh shit. Like, so now you can actually kind of place where those scenes take place in the greater picture of things. Sorry for spoilers of that, but come on. That's too cool not to mention. That DLC is awesome, by the way. It actually is really fucking good. So I highly recommend this game. That being said, I think it's normally like $40. I got it on sale for like $12, which of course helps me love the game even more. I had it in my wish list for a while, and it kind of constantly popped up on sale. So like if you're listening to this review and you say, okay, I want to go check that out, sounds pretty cool, but it's $40, put it in your wish list. Guarantee you it'll be down to $12 again multiple times this year. Like it'll happen. It'll just keep happening. So don't buy it for more than 12. The Kyle Reese DLC is probably normally 20. I think I got it, or like 15. I think I got it for $7. Don't pay any more than that. But pick it up if this sounds like it's right up your alley. If you're like me and as a kid you loved that future shit. And again, I stress to you, everything looks exactly like you see it in the movies. Like their hats, the Resistance fighters' hats and their jackets, the way they look, the earpieces that they're wearing, it all looks exactly 100% from Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. The only stuff that you get from the other Terminator movies is the variety of Terminators. You get nothing else, and I think that is just perfect. You get a variety of enemies, so it's got a pretty decent size, amount of enemies that you have to actually fight, and they come from the other movies. So I think it was great. That was a great idea to not really dive into the lore of Terminator 3, the lore of Salvation, or, Dark Fate, or any of that kind of stuff, and just keep it Terminator 1, Terminator 2. So Terminator Resistance, 2 sex scenes, freaking awesome. And, if you also like this era, I highly recommend you read a comic book that came out in 1990. Now Comics put it out, but then Dark Horse, I think, has the rights to it now. It's called Terminator Burning Earth. It was a 5-part comic miniseries. Every issue was painted by Alex Ross. If you're a comic book fan, you know who that is. And it all takes place in the future, like future war and everything. So if like this game is up your alley, that comic book will be up your alley. Go check that out. Now keep in mind, it came out a year before Terminator 2. So John Connor looks totally different in that comic book than in this video game or, Terminator 2. And it's not technically probably canon at all, but Terminator Burning Earth is a great, great read if this is up your alley. So yeah, check out Terminator Resistance. If you dig it, let me know. Let me know what you think, and we can talk about it. Sorry for the spoilers, but at a 20-minute review, those were pretty big, things I really wanted to tell you guys about. So, anyways, hope you check it out, Terminator Resistance. And as always, we'll terminate you on the dark side. That was terrible.
Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can support the show by joining our Patreon page, picking up a t-shirt from our merch store, or leaving us a 5-star review. Follow us on Instagram at Podcasting After Dark. All links can be found on our website at www.podcastingafterdark.com. And join us next time for another cult movie or TV show review with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.